stop looking at screens before we go to bed. And I have 2 studies to reference here, but stop looking at screens before you go to bed. Screens like television, laptops, iPads, phones, these emit off a blue light that suppresses your melatonin and makes it harder for you to get to sleep.
How long would you say before sleep should you take a break from blue light?
I would say an hour before you go to bed, stop looking at all screens. Yeah. And if you really want to do something better with your time, this is a perfect time to do something else, to put a different habit in place other than looking at screens, watching TV, scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, whatever. So it might be, doing some light mobility work. It might be reading a book. It could be anything, but this is a great time, an hour before bed, for you to decompress, de-stress, and put in place a different habit that is going to help you get better sleep and improve your life overall.
Right, and I concur with that because I actually used to be an avid phone user before I used to go to sleep, and now I'm not. I try to put my phone, on the charger like an hour and a half before I go to sleep. Now I like to shower and stuff, but essentially Nathanael told me that a while ago, and I took that and I ran with it. And I promise you that is a 100% proven fact. I'm telling you that I literally lived by that. And I was like, I'm going to try it. And it worked. Okay, I have a routine and I'm able to fall asleep a lot quicker than I used to. And one thing that I noticed is my eyes were like, they needed a break. I would try to fall asleep right after, looking at my phone, watching some cool clips, whatever. And I'd be like, okay, it's time to go to sleep. And then I'd close my eyes and they would be moving, that fast twitching,
right?
And I couldn't get to sleep. So that's when I noticed it and I took Nate's advice and it works.
Right. So my girlfriend, Sam, she still scroll, and this is, I don't care what she does. I've said it so many times. I tell her not to do this, but she scrolls through TikTok right before she goes to bed. And she always says to me, well, that's not fair. You fall asleep right away. As soon as your head hits the pillow, you just fall asleep.
Right.
I can't fall asleep. So, that's why I'm on TikTok. And I would say it's probably because you're on TikTok that you can't fall asleep.
Yeah, your sleep routine. Yeah.
Right. So my routine, what I do is an hour before I go to bed, I put on my blue light blocking glasses because I need to block out her TikTok, sadly. But then I shower and I, brush my teeth, get ready for bed, and then I set up my next day. So what I actually do is I go through my next day, and I think this is a big tip for anybody out there listening, is Jim Rohn, the great motivational speaker, said, you need to do your days twice, once in your mind and then once in real life. So I go through my day the night before. I think about what I'm going to wear. I look at my, what's my workout for tomorrow? Or me and Kevin and I recording a podcast. What am I going to do tomorrow? And I lay down, I visualize what I'm going to do tomorrow. So I already go through my day. And then when I wake up the next morning, I've already done all this in my mind. So I know exactly what I'm going to do. And this is another thing about your goals. If you have goals and you don't know what you should be doing right now to achieve your goals, then you don't have enough clarity on your goals. So I know as soon as I wake up, you're going to drink a greens drink. Then you're going to take a cold shower. Then you're going to take Kyra for a walk. Then you're going to do your workout. Then you're going to clean the galley litter and do all these little miscellaneous. Then you're going to answer your athletes. Then you're going to work on whatever important things you have for that day. I understand that. So that's just a little side note.
Right.
My point was, the whole point of this is to stop looking at screens before you go to bed. So the studies that I have on this, number one, evening use of light-emitting e-readers, so like a Kindle, negatively affects sleep, circadian rhythm, and next morning alertness. So essentially, you have a harder time getting to sleep, you get less quality sleep, and you are less alert the next morning. And it goes on to say, overall, we found that the use of portable light-emitting devices immediately before bedtime has biological effects that may perpetuate sleep deficiency and disrupt circadian rhythms, both of which can have adverse impacts on performance, health, and safety. So if that doesn't convince you right there to stop looking at screens before you go to bed, and it's not just Kindles and e-readers, this applies for televisions, laptops, phones, etc.
Yeah. And, my kids love to fall asleep before I don't understand it. I don't know if kids are the same way. I would love to find out if kids were the same way, like at what age that changes. But I've noticed that kids really it doesn't have an impact on them whenever, I mean, I don't know what age, like I said, it starts at, but they'll watch TV until they go to sleep, and then, the sleep timer goes off, whatever, goes off, and they're perfectly fine the next day. It's like, but again, it might just be that age. So I don't know if it's age dependent, but I'd be very curious to find out.
I don't think it's age dependent. Honestly, I think that if they didn't do that,
Yeah.
I think it still applies to them.
Really? Yeah.
I just think that because they're kids, they just have all the energy in the world. But I still think it would be a good idea if the kids didn't watch that before bed. Now, I'm not a parent. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell you don't let your kids watch stuff before bed. We're just here giving you the studies and the information. So, yep.
Right. So, but I am a parent, and I'm sorry, you guys, my kids can blame Uncle Nate for this one. No more TV or tablets or anything an hour before bed.
They should be thanking me.
Well,
I deserve
definitely
Christmas
won't
cards.
be thanking you.
I deserve birthday cards. I deserve Godfather
I'm
cards.
telling them, and I'm going to show them this video on replay every single time they ask me, Dad, why can't I watch TV before I go to bed? Well, Uncle Nate said this is why, and also the research shows it's a fact. So there it is.
I'm fine with it because when they're in high school, they're going to be thanking me because they have more bounce than everybody else.
They have more bounce.
And they are more athletic. So.
Well, yeah, when they're well rested.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Anyways, one more study on this one. This is more along the lines of social media use before bed, and then we will move on. Social media use before bed and sleep disturbance among young adults in the United States, a nationally represented study. We assessed 1,763 U.S. young adults, ages 19 to 32. Participants estimated to what extent they use social media in the 30 minutes before they go to bed. The results were, compared with those who rarely or very rarely check social media in the 30 minutes before bed, those who often or very often check social media at that time had an adjusted odds ratio of 1.62 for increased sleep disturbance. Conclusions. Social media use in the 30 minutes before bed is independently associated with disturbed sleep among young adults. Samantha, stop looking at TikTok right next to me before we go to bed.
Here's why I think that's true. Just to put that kind of in layman's terms, right? Think about like what's going through your mind when you're watching these videos, when you're checking social media. Like me, for example, I'm always checking YouTube, Nate's channel, this, that, and the other. So if I'm checking that right before I go to sleep, what am I doing? I'm worrying myself. I'm stressing myself out. So me personally, I have a planner. And everything that I need to do the next day, I write down in that planner. I got this idea from Matthew McConaughey, so shout out to him. He said, because he has a family, he has everything going on, he realized that he went to bed thinking about everything he had to do the next day. Instead, if you write that down and you know that you're not going to forget that stuff, you can push that stuff out of your mind an hour before you go to bed, write it down in your planner, everything you need to do the next day, and then you have it right there in front of you. And then in the morning, make it part of your routine to check your planner. Now, I know it's not a popular decision. Men, I'm talking to you out there. Boys, I'm talking to you. For guys, for males to have planners, but I am telling you it is life-changing. Life-changing. But not to get too far off the social media thing. It just makes so much sense to me. It just makes so much sense. I mean, not checking social media, not having to worry yourself, stress yourself out, blah, blah, blah. I definitely concur, and I would say I approve not checking social media. And I would even extend it out to an hour. An hour, not even 30 minutes like that said, an hour, because it goes to the whole blue light thing.
Right. So that's our entire point of this one. 60 minutes, 1 hour before you go to sleep. Stop looking at all screens and put in some positive habit that is going to make your life better, whether it's writing down in your planner what you're going to do the next day, whether it's visualizing your goals or visualizing your next day in general, whether it's reading a book, whether it's doing some light mobility or a light workout, whatever it might be, replace that last hour of your day. Stop looking at screens and do something positive instead.
Yeah, and also side note, did you know a lot of anxiety comes from thinking and worrying about what's going on the next day right before you're about to go to sleep? That's actually a fact. I don't know where I read it. It was a research study. I think maybe coming out of some university or some sort, and I'll find it and I'll maybe put it on the screen. But essentially, you can't be stressing yourself out before you go to bed. That's just the answer. That's just the answer. Do not stress yourself out, because guess what? The whole next day, you have the whole day to worry about your life. Why worry about it before you're going to sleep?
Right. And I would add to that if you write it down in your planner
Yes.
and you visualize your next day, you're not going to have that anxiety.
Right.
I'm not speaking for everybody, but it's definitely going to decrease that thinking right before bed, because you've already
decompressing.
Yes, you've got it out of your mind.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.